today we're looking at Biology Chapter 10, and the topic is diseases, immunity, and drugs. So without much ado, let's begin. First of all, let's take a look at disease. We say diseases which are caused by pathogens, which enters the body through the direct contact, and direct contact includes the body fluids and the blood. And then diseases also enter the body through indirect contact. These indirect contacts are one, contaminated surfaces, another way through which diseases which are caused by pathogens enter the body by indirect contact is through the air and through animals. You know, we eat animals, animal fur, and so on and so forth. And another way is on hygienic food preparation. So when you cook your food, you don't make the environment clean. Your cooking knife, your cooking utensils, your pots, your plates, your spoons, if they're not clean, your cups, they're not clean, then you will be contaminating some diseases which are caused by pathogens and which are caused by indirect contact, which causes or which gets into our body by indirect contact. So disease actually get into our body by two methods. One is direct contact, two is indirect contact. Remember, the direct contact include the body fluids, and includes the blood. The blood and the body fluids are two ways by which disease gets into our body: preparation and through contaminated food and water. Okay? Are caused by pathogens. That is very important for us to know. Pathogens. What are pathogens? Pathogens are disease-causing organisms. Pathogens like bacteria, like virus and bacteria, all these are disease-causing organisms. They are called pathogens. Pathogens are disease-causing organisms. And these pathogens, they enter our body through two ways. One is direct ways, or direct contact. Two is indirect contact. Under the direct contact, we have the body fluid through the body fluid and through the blood. And under the indirect contact, we have through contaminated surfaces. So when you touch any contaminated surface, when your food touch any contaminated surface, you're going to contact diseases through the air, through the animals, through the hygienic food preparation. Like some of the restaurants we buy food from, if you see where they prepare the food and how they prepare the food, you will never eat such food, okay? So we should be careful with the food we eat because most of the food are prepared very unhygienically. And then through contaminated food and water. Once there is contaminated food and water, then this will lead to indirect contact of disease or bacteria or pathogen penetrating into our body. Now let's quickly take a look at what are the organisms that cause this disease in humans, the pathogens. Organisms that cause disease in humans are called the pathogens, right? These organisms are called the pathogens. Now, the pathogens are disease-causing organisms. These pathogens are what? Disease-causing organisms. Pathogens are disease, so you must know how to define pathogens. When they ask us to define pathogens, pathogens are disease-causing organisms, right? Now, there are different types of diseases. We have transmissible diseases, okay, and we have communicable disease and transmittable disease and non-communicable diseases. Now, transmittable diseases are diseases in which the pathogens can be passed from one host to another host, from one person to another person, from one host to another host. If you look at this, these are pathogens. The different, these are viruses, you can see. These are bacteria, mixtures of bacteria, virus, and defense system. The external defense system that Almighty God created in our body to prevent or to defend our body system from disease, from these pathogens, from getting into our body. What are the external? We talk about internal defense system, but let's talk about the external defense system. The things the creator, the maker of mankind, created, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the things he created to prevent the disease or these pathogens from getting into our body. Now, our body have a natural defense system or mechanisms to prevent pathogens from entering into our bloodstream. You know, when the pathogen gets into our bloodstream, then we're in trouble, you know, right? Now, one of the external defense systems that is created for our body to prevent disease or pathogens from getting into our body is the skin. The skin is a natural phenomenon created to prevent pathogens from entering into our body. So, by default, the disease cannot just enter through your skin into your body. The pathogens The pathogens cannot just get into your body through your skin, okay? Except there is a cut on your skin. Except there is a cut on your skin. You have a sore on your skin, and the sore is exposed to bacteria or to disease, any disease-causing organism. Then that's how they get into your body. Another way is hair in the external nostril. Inside our nose, there are hair, because the nose is a free express through which air goes into our body. This air is also mixed with some bacteria or some pathogens, which are disease-causing organisms. So the creator of mankind, who knows best, already envisaged that the diseases will get into our body through the nose. So what the maker did, he put hair in the nose. The hair, they are like the filter. They filter the bacteria, or they filter any kind of pathogen, because bacteria is not the only pathogens. Bacteria, fungi, and viruses, they are all pathogens. So the maker of mankind put hair in the nostril to prevent the pathogens, or the pathogens, from getting into the body through the nose. Another place where we have the external defense system in our body to prevent the pathogens from getting to our body is the mucous membrane. The mucous membranes help to prevent the disease from getting to our body. Another one is the stomach acid. The stomach acid is a pathogen killing organisms or substance or chemical substance that helps to kill every disease that finds its way into our stomach through our contaminated food and water and drinks. So this stomach acid helps to kill any pathogens that find its way to our stomach. Okay, so these are some of the external defense systems from getting into our body or from getting to harm us. Now, how do pathogens get into our body? Now, let's take a look at the ways we contaminate disease. The ways. Some of us, when we are yawning, we just open our mouth wide, and then pathogens get into our body through that. Okay. Now let's look at, we classify them into the direct contact. We classify them into the direct contact and the indirect contact ways by which the pathogen gets into our body. Now let's take a look at the direct contact. Person to person contact. So be careful. Handshake. During coronavirus, we were not allowed to shake hands. And so person-to-person contact is one way where we can send this pathogen to our body. Another way is exchange of body fluid. Exchange of body fluid. Okay, this one I'm not going to go deep, but exchange of body fluid, it's a way by which the pathogens gets into our body. So we should be spread. How can the spread of waterborne and foodborne diseases can be controlled? How we can control waterborne disease, how you can control waterborne disease and airborne disease and foodborne disease, all of these things. One, having a clean water supply is the way to go. Not clean, just whatever. Now let's move ahead quickly. Diseases that are born out from the environment, from contaminations from this pathogen. One of them is cholera. We call it cholera. What is a cholera? Cholera is a disease caused by bacteria that is transmitted through contaminated food or water. Food and through contaminated water. When you drink water that is not clean, water that is not pure, water that is not hygiene, water that is not sanitated, that such water will treatment for cholera. What kind of treatment? How do we treat cholera when we have this type of disease or this type of sickness? Number one is to drink water containing some sugar and iron, because cholera will dehydrate you. Cholera will dehydrate you, makes you purge, makes you run various fluid. Another way is to use antibiotics. You go to doctors, they're going to write antibiotics for you to kill this bacteria or this pathogen or this disease-causing organism. Now, let's take a look at some of the questions. We pause the video at this junction. We answer this question. What is a disease? This is where we started from. You must know what a disease is. A disease is a bodily disorder that is caused by pathogens in our body. Now, what is transmittable disease? Disease can be communicated or that is communicable, that can be transmitted from one person to another. Okay? Name a method by which each of these diseases is transmitted. So HIV/AIDS. Okay, AIDS. Which method? Okay, this is a person-to-person fluid. Okay. Another one, cholera. How? Contaminated food, contaminated water. Common flu. How? Airborne, or so on and so forth. Direct contact or indirect contact. Now we move on to the next one. The next one is 10.2. Here we're going to look at immunity. Immunity is how we can boost our body system to fight diseases. How we build our body system to fight diseases. Now let's take a look at, we have natural body immunity, and sometimes when our immunity becomes weak, we have to boost our immunity to be able to withstand this disease, because disease Diseases are to us what the military enemies are to us. Diseases are to our body what the enemy of a country is to that country. Now, immunity is the protection provided by the body's defense system against the disease. The defense system, the protection, and the defense system the body provides against any disease is called immunity. Specific immune system or adaptive immune system. Now, let's take a look at the adaptive immune system or the specific immune system. Remember, our body, created by our maker, is be given antibodies to be able to withstand some of these bacteria or these pathogens that come in contact with our body. Now, let's take a look at some of these antibodies. But when pathogens enter the bloodstreams, they destroy the antibodies. We know this. When the pathogens or any bacteria, any fungi, any virus get into the bloodstream, what they do? They destroy the entire system. They destroy the antibodies. Now, what are antibodies? Antibodies are protein produced by lymphocytes. Remember, lymphocytes and phagocytes are the white blood cells of our body. The white blood cells are like the soldiers of our body. They are like the military of our body. They fight against diseases in our body. The white blood cells they produce one of the parts of the white blood cells called the lymphocytes. They produce what we call the antibodies. Antibodies are the immunities that help to fight against disease in our body. Okay? Now, these antibodies, they are highly specific. They are highly specific, meaning when we say specificity, each of them attack a specific pathogen, meaning they don't fight randomly. The ones that fight bacteria are different from the ones that fight virus. The ones that fight virus are different from the ones that fight fungi. So they're very specific. Now, each pathogen has its own distinct antigens. Each pathogen, you remember what is a pathogen? Pathogens are disease. A specific and a distinct antigen to fight each of these pathogens. Only an antibody of a specific shape can complementarily to the antigen that can bind the antigen, forming an antibody or antigen complex. Okay, we take that again. Each pathogen has its own distinct antigen. Every pathogen has its own antigen. Only an antibody of a specific shape complementary to the antigen can bind the antigen. Okay, only the meaning of complementary is that like enzyme substrate complex. Remember the enzyme substrate complex? Only the enzyme and that fit into the particular body the food can be bind in the active site, and form an enzyme substrate complex. Same way saying here. Only the pathogens that complement an antigen fit into that complexity. Okay, antibodies plays an important role in destroying foreign particles or foreign molecules in our body. Antibodies plays an important role in destroying any foreign particle in our body. Now let's take a look at specific immune system, or still on the specific immune system or the adaptive immune system. Now take a look at the bacterial cells. Here we have the phagocyte. Remember, the white blood cell is made up of two, the phagocyte and lymphocyte. The lymphocyte produces the antigens or the antibodies, and the phagocyte is the male character, right? Now, antibodies bind to the bacteria, causing them to clump together. They bind. Look at these ones that look like X, that looks like chromosomes. This one looking like chromosomes are the antibodies. Now, this big one that looks like tablets are the bacterial cells. Now you can see these antigens or antibody bind, the disease will remain and you continue to become sick. So at this point we recommend something else, that an antibody or antibacterial cells causes the cell to burst and to die. See the antibodies, this one that looks like chromosomes, to become harmless, and they also bind to the virus, making them to be inactive. They bind the virus. Look at these antibodies. They bind the virus and make the virus to be inactive. They bind the toxin. Look at the toxin and make them harmless. They make them harmless. They make them okay. So now let's quickly move on. Now, types of specific immunity. Type of specific immunity. We have specific immunity, which are divided to passive immunity and are divided passive immunity and active immunity. Okay, now let's take a look at the active immunity. Active immunity is when the person's body produces antibodies. Okay? Number one is natural, number two is artificial. The natural, the person is affected with the disease. Okay? Then the artificial one is artificial one is obtained through vaccination. You get a vaccine to fight against to boost your immunity. Okay? The natural one, your body is able to produce the antibodies to fight against the disease. Okay? Then let's go to passive immunity. Passive immunity are also divided into natural and artificial. Now, for the natural, baby gets antibodies from their mother's milk or through the placenta. For the artificial, antibodies are injected into the bodies. Okay? Now, let's go to vaccination. Since we mentioned vaccination, we said the babies, sometimes we go for vaccine. Okay? So we go for vaccine to prevent against maybe a virus that is spreading and so on and so forth. During coronavirus, we took vaccine and so on and so forth. Vaccination involves receiving a vaccine for the body to induce active immunity. We take a vaccine to make the body to be able to induce. The body will induce an active immunity. The active immunity could be natural or artificial, right? Now, here we have what we call the receptor. We have the A, B, C. This could be toxins. We have the A, B, C. Then you have all these small antibodies cluster each of these toxins. And then we have this one which cluster this, which weakens. He said this one weakens the bacterium in the vaccine. Okay, this one weakens the bacteria in the vaccine, but we have the antigen or surface of the bacteria. Okay, here we have some lymphocytes that releases the antibodies. Some lymphocytes that release the antibodies. These are lymphocytes, all these ones. They are lymphocytes that releases the antibodies to help to cluster these diseases or these bacteria. Some lymphocytes remain in the bloodstream as memory cells. Okay, this one is always in the multiple choice. Some lymphocytes remain in the bloodstream as memory cells. As what? Memory cells. As memory cells. Now let's still go on to the vaccination. Here's the graph plotting antibody concentration against time. Now, one of the ways is booster injection. Okay, one of the ways is booster injection. Okay, just a minute. Okay, one of the ways is we look at the antibody concentration here, plotted against time in weeks, 1 week, 2 weeks, and so on. Now, here is a primary. When we get injection, you can see there is what we call a primary response after some time in the 3rd week, 4th week. And then here we take a booster injection. When it's wearing away, when the antibodies during COVID, when we take injection, we boost our antibodies. Then after some week, it wears away. Then here in the week 15, we take a booster injection. When we take a booster plus the primary injection we took, then it will boost the antibodies and give us a secondary response. This will protect us for a while till it's begin to decrease in the week 22, 23, and so on and so forth. So this is the vaccination graph response. Please take note of this graph for your exam. This is always in multiple choice exam. Okay, the injection. Remember the vaccination or we say some lymphocyte will form part of the memory cell is always there in multiple choice. And also remember that when we take injection, it boosts our antibodies for a while. After some time, the activity decreases, and then we take a booster one to increase to give us a secondary response. Now let's move on to drugs. Now drugs, we are not saying the bad drugs or the hard drugs. We're talking about the medicine, the one you take to cure your sickness. Medications, okay? We're talking about medications. Drugs such as antibiotics can treat bacteria and some fungi infection. Okay, there's something about MRSA. This one you must know in your exam. You know, some bacteria become resistant. Okay, they become resistant to some bacteria become resistant to your antibiotics. And then we'll talk about MRSA, okay, of how bacteria become resistant, then the type of bacteria you use to prevent that. Now, how do antibiotics work? Antibiotics are not things you take by yourself. You must go to a doctor to prescribe for you. Antibiotics are drugs that are used to treat bacteria and some fungal infections. They are used, you know, bacteria and fungi, they are pathogens. So antibiotics are drugs, like you see here, this you can see here. They are used to treat some fungi and some bacterial infections. They interfere with some of the aspects of growth or metabolic activities of the pathogen in our body. Okay? Okay? Now let's take a look at that. Just a minute, okay, everyone. Okay. Now, antibiotics are drugs used to treat bacteria and some fungal infections, right? And then we say they interfere with the growth and metabolic activities in our body and the metabolic activities of the pathogens, meaning they don't let the pathogens to do what they want to do to your body. They kill them. They don't let the pathogens to do what they want to do to your body. So antibiotics inhibits the synthesis, meaning they prevent the synthesis of bacterial cell wall. They destroy them, they prevent. They destroy protein synthesis of the bacteria. Enzyme actions. They boost your enzymic reactions and enzymic action and your cell membrane. Okay, now let's move ahead quickly. So why do antibiotics kill bacteria but not viruses? Why do antibiotics kill bacteria but not viruses? Now, that leads us to the differences between bacteria and viruses. First, a virus have a protein coat. You remember, right? Virus have a protein coat. But bacteria have a cell wall only. Bacteria have what? Cell wall only. But we say virus have what? Protein coat. So virus is different. In the outer membrane is different. The virus have cell membrane absent, meaning they don't have it in them. They have the cell membrane absent from them. They don't have it. Why bacteria, they have cell membrane. Bacteria have cell membrane. Virus don't have cell membrane. Now, virus don't have cytoplasm. Remember, virus cannot live on its own. Virus don't have a cytoplasm. Cytoplasm is absent. But bacteria have cytoplasm. Bacteria have a cytoplasm. Remember, bacteria can live on its own. But virus cannot live on its own. Okay? Then, virus do not have ribosome. They don't have ribosome. Okay? Ribosome, the site for protein synthesis. Okay? But bacteria, they have ribosome. Okay? They have, in fact, bacteria have something plasmid called plasmid that enables it to be used for biotechnology. Okay, when it comes to bacteria have a structure that can be targeted. So antibiotics can affect bacteria but not virus. How do bacteria develop resistance to antibiotics? How do they develop resistance? Now let's take a little bit at the resistance of the bacteria to antibiotics. Now, what do we mean by resistance? The more you take antibiotics, the more the bacteria get used to the antibiotics. That's why they say don't take it too much. Don't take your medication too much. Don't make your body too used to medication. When your body is too used to medication, then the bacteria become resistant, meaning they will not die. The antibiotics can no longer kill them. They get used to antibiotics. They get used to it, they don't die anymore. So when bacteria are exposed to certain chemical or agent, their gene might change. They become mutated. When genes change, we say mutation has taken place. Now, some mutations allow the bacteria to become resistant to bacteria. So when you mutate them, some change to the bacteria. First, it kills them. Thereafter, the more, it only causes a change to their DNA, the gene. Now, when that happens, we call it mutation. Mutation now make the bacteria, because you change their DNA, the bacteria DNA. So when that happens, it now makes the bacteria to be able to withstand the antibiotics. Because you've mutated, it's no longer the original DNA or the original gene of the bacteria. So since it's a mutated gene, then the bacteria is able to withstand the antibiotics. So antibiotics is no longer able to kill the bacteria. We say the bacteria is now resistant to the antibiotics. It's now resistant, the word resistant. Okay? When these bacteria reproduce, the mutated or the mutation will pass on to the future generation. So when they reproduce, they will now produce a generation that is capable of being able to withstand the antibiotics. They will now produce the next generation of the bacteria, will now be able to withstand the antibiotics. Will now be able to what? Withstand the antibiotics. Now let's move on quickly to the next one, right? Why do doctors always tell their patients to complete the full course of the antibiotics? Now, taking a full course of antibiotics ensures that the infection is properly treated. Just to ensure that the infection that you had is properly treated so that it does not repeat. Because if you don't take a full dose, it will stop temporarily. After a while, the disease will come back. Now, this helps to prevent the survival of the bacteria that may become antibiotic resistant. Because when they survive, if you don't kill all of them, if one single one remains, it will change bacteria resistant generation that will withstand the antibiotics, in which you can no longer kill. So with this, we've come to the end of our today's class. Thank you for joining us.